This is my house on what began as a drizzled and rather drab morning before Thanksgiving Day here on the eastern terminus of 16th Street in Port Royal. This also serves as the interim home of the Low Country Estuarium's creatures. When you arrive for your visit by appointment, you will see the mailbox with 6:30 on it and our little sandwich board sign in front. You can park anywhere just off the street here. I'm Estuarium Curator Bob Bender, also caretaker of the critters currently in residence in my art gallery that you'll see when you visit. Why don't you come on in now for a little peek at what we have. This is what you'll see on entry, and I'll give you a brief scan around the room from different points. We have virtually all of the tanks and critters from the old 14th Street location. The one exception being that lovely diamondback terrapin tank we had specially constructed. It was simply too large to fit in the space available here. It will be the centerpiece of our display when the new visitor center opens up in the shed on Paris Avenue here in Port Royal. These guys haven't gotten up yet. They're still in their freshwater container. They tend to sleep in this time of year. Here we have the crab condo and the tank containing our Florida horse conch. On the left we have the whelk tank, which also houses the rather large spider crab you can see in movement back there. And on the right is the tank containing our flounder, the guy that was 2 inches long when we got him. He's about 6 inches now. Here we have the little diamondback terrapin that travels with me to events and programs. And right there, that's the Sea Star tank. And of course, we have Shamud. Morning, Shamud. This lovely bench is the handiwork of my cabinetry artisan brother Chuck, as is this lovely display cabinet. Thank you, little brother. Quite nice, quite nice. So, one last quick turn around the room, and you know what awaits you on your visit. Looking forward to it. These are the first youngsters to visit the Low Country Estuarium's interim facility. And they're the grandchildren of a longtime friend of mine, George Johnson, who has brought his daughters today and son-in-laws to visit us here at the estuarium. I asked him where Kathy was. Kathy is taking care of Thanksgiving. So, what are your guys' names? What's your name?
Alex.
Alex.
Kate.
Okay, and where do you guys live?
In Maine.
In Maine. A little warmer down here than in Maine today, isn't it?
Bangor.
Bangor.
We can call it Bangor, Maine.
Wonderful.
Or Maine, or both Bangor, Maine.
I like your coast up there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to feed that sea star. I'm going to go get a mud snail, and you'll get to see how the sea star eats. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, this is the mud snail here that you see me holding. Say goodbye, mud snail.
Bye-bye, mud snail.
Here we go.
Put up there ready.
And offer it right there.
Well,
that's lunch, breakfast.
what is it? Lunch or breakfast?
This is brunch.
It's a mid-morning meal.
Now, what you're observing, you see how his little feet are grabbing a hold of the snail?
Yeah.
What it's going to do is it's going to turn the snail in its grasp and it's going to bring the opening of the snail to the mouth opening of the sea star. And then what happens is the stomach of the sea star comes out of its body and goes inside the snail and dissolves the snail out of its body.
Whoa.
What? Sticking his body.
Yeah, he's sucking that right up against him, isn't he?
Oh my gosh.
Now look down from the top and see how he's pooched out.
Whoa.
Oh,
Wait, so the stomach actually goes out into the...
Goes into the cavity
is that
of the
what's
snail.
happening right now?
Well,
Yeah, it's eating.
it's getting the snail lined up, and if it's lined up, it's starting to stick its stomach in there.
Yeah. Much more
Like a
abstract.
baby snail.
Okay, we're going to check out some of the other animals. Here, this is the diamondback terrapins that live in our estuary have to go to fresh water to drink to balance the salts that build up in their system. The water I was changing, this is their fresh water. Look at the wax my finger. This is their fresh water in here, and this is where they are most mornings when I come downstairs. Now, this is, I'm going to cut some pieces. This is when they really get excited, when they see me starting to cut pieces of food for me. This is fish that I'm cutting. This is the girl, the one with the mustache, and that's the boy right there.
Yeah, that's just the opposite of people. The girls with mustache.
You would think so, wouldn't you? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a snack right now. I'm not going to feed him a whole lot right now. So this is fish that I'm cutting up. You know what that is?
Shrimp?
Yeah, that's shrimp. We'll be feeding the shrimp in a minute. Okay. Here we go.
Whoa, good dog.
That was the girl.
They know nothing about sharing or taking turns.
Ew.
Get kind of excited about it.
Mom, the girl got it again. The boy hasn't got anything.
Let's see if I can get somebody to do backstroke. Backstroke. Backstroke.
He did it.
You ever seen a turtle do a backstroke before?
No. He did backstroke.
Okay, one more piece. Backstroke.
Oh, cute.
There we go.
That was
Each of them got 2 pieces.
boy. It,
Now, what are they called? Diamondback.
Diamondback.
Diamondback
Diamondback
terrapin.
turtle. Diamondback turtle.
Now,
That was a cool difference.
a little spider crab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the smell of food on the knife. Just the smell of food. Okay? And watch. Put this back where he is.
He's smelling it with his legs.
Oh, I see. Look below the spider crab. What do you see? Can you see down there? Oh, it just went and hid.
What was it?
Whoa. Look at that guy.
What was it that was a little
There was a little tiny mud crab in there that must have come in with the oyster shell. when I put
Does he
the-
like crab?
Well, they get along. They stay away from each other pretty much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this guy now. I'm going to give him a piece of fish, and he's going to get very, very excited.
He's standing up.
Did you get it?
It's under him.
There,
He's getting it with his
there
legs.
he goes.
Eating it. Oh, eating it. white spider crab.
He's just a young guy.
What about the thing underneath him?
That's a mud snail. They help keep the tank clean. Anything that the spider crab doesn't eat, if pieces of his fish fall off and go down there, then the mud snails will come along and clean it up.
Can he eat it?
Mm-hmm.
What's he cleaning up right now?
He's just waiting to see. The mud snails can smell the food. That's why they're active right now.
And the crab doesn't look like he wants to shit.
There we go.
What are they? It's full.
That's what shrimp look like while they still have their heads on. These are called white shrimp. And the rest of them are white shrimp. And also in here, look at that little guy.
Is that a hermit crab?
Yep, that's a little long-wristed hermit crab. And I'm going to give him something to eat, and what it's going to do.
Did you see how they actually...
Yeah, I'm going to drop some food down to the little hermit crab, and it's going to make all the shrimp go crazy. Well, they're going to smell the food.
And they're going to be jealous?
Yes. Put some food down to this guy. Look how excited he gets. Now, the smell of that little piece of shrimp is going to get in the tank, and all of the shrimp are going to smell it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some of their food.
How this about shrimp? The two shrimps that are brown. What's the hermit crab doing?
We have, this is one of the, that's a killifish right there. And there's a sea squirt. Ooh. And in here,
What's a sea squirt?
sea squirts are tunicates, and they're chordates. They are, these animals are ancestors to vertebrates. And because they have a cord that eventually became a spinal cord that was eventually
Look at that
wrapped
fish.
in bone. When I drop the food in here and the smell gets in the tank, we'll see where the striped hermit crab is. Yeah, there he is, right there. He's called the striped hermit crab. He's the kind that lives here in the estuary. The long-wristed hermit crab that you saw in the other tank lives at the beach. And they can be found in the estuary also.
So they never grow their own shells, right? They just
Right.
somebody else's shell.
Snails make the shells that hermit crabs can move into. Aha, very interesting. This guy is refusing food. You know why that's interesting?
Hi.
That tells me that within the next 2 days, he is going to molt. He's going to come out of his shell, his exoskeleton, and get bigger.
So is there the right size shell in there for him?
That one will still do, because he doesn't have any predators.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I like them to be in shells a little bit smaller than they would occupy in the wild, because they're easier to see, easier to view. I'm going to go get something. If you guys wait just a second, I'm going to go get something. Now,
Striped hermit crab.
you know what this is? Watch.
Molted hermit crab?
Yep, it's molted. This is the old exoskeleton. This hermit crab is still alive somewhere. This is his old shell. It's like when you get too big for your shoes and have to get new, bigger shoes, you molt your old shoes. You come out of your old shoes, which are too little, and you get new, bigger shoes that have room for your feet to grow in them. So you guys molt too.
So he climbs out fish sometimes to a new bigger one?
Well, he comes out with a soft skin and puffs himself up bigger, and then that soft skin gets hard and makes the new bigger. It's called an exoskeleton, an outside skeleton. So that's what this is. Neat, huh? And tomorrow, maybe the day after, I'm going to look in this tank, and his old shell, his old exoskeleton is going to be laying out here somewhere, and he's going to be bigger inside of his snail shell. Neat, huh?
That's the fish.
And this little guy, that's a little burr puffer fish. It's called a burr puffer because it's got spikes on it. Another name is spiny boxfish. I'll give it a piece right here. Turn around and see the food.
Wow.
There we go. That's one piece. Give it another piece.
It's animal eats shrimp.
He knows where his bread is buttered.
Now what's funny is sometimes this guy will eat so much his tummy will pooch out.
Kind of like yours.
I like the push.
This species does not have a rib cage that encases its stomach area. Playing with his food.
Hey,
Do you have a rib
bad.
cage, Kate?
Yes.
Do you have ribs?
Yeah.
Where are your ribs?
I don't know.
Alex, where are your ribs?
Where are your ribs? There's your ribs right there, right.
Where's your sternum?
Now, what not having that rib cage down around his belly does is when he puffs up, he puffs up as round as he is long. And look underneath that shell right there. What do you see? I'm going to get this food that the pupper didn't want, and I'm going to move it over here for this guy that's living underneath the shell.
Hey, crab. It looks like the pufferfish is gonna share a little bit.
The stone crab.
You must see it. It looks red.
Yeah. They're red or purple.
Hey, purple's my favorite color.
It is. Young stone crabs are purple.
My red's my favorite color.
And we're just going to leave that there. I can't get to it. So either this guy, the stone crab, will come out and get it. Let me see if I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get him to come out so you can see him better. Just with a little piece of food. And then I'll leave that other piece in there, and we might hear those snapping shrimp arguing over it.
Where are the snapping?
They're underneath the shells.
Oh.
Oh,
That was funny.
well. Are you going to take that? Yes, he did. When you go on our website, if you go to our videos, one of the videos shows that stone crab right after he's molted. And he was over here underneath that shell. And I've got a video of his old molt shell and him sitting there next to it. And all these shells that you see right there stacked up, they were all stacked up by the snapping shrimp. Yep.
Is that what they do?
Yep, they made their hole there. And that little tiny fish, I'm going to just drop some of this in for the little goby that we may or may not see come out again. He's very, very shy.
He was waiting. He looked at the crab.
He just flashed to get the smell of food. on the night.
Which animal eats shrimp?
Everyone eats shrimp.
Ooh, boy. Ooh.
Hey, you're splashing water on me.
You got splashed by a blue crab. That is one. That's a little blue crab.
That's a blue crab.
And what I'm going to be doing is keeping this guy's empty mulch shells for a future display of growth.
Hey.
Is that what we have, the small version of what we have home in the pot?
Yeah.
The blue crab? Oh, you know what you were playing with this morning, Katie? In the pot? That's the little baby version.
In the baby one?
That's the baby blue crab that you were playing with in the
And they
pot.
start off even, the real babies are only that big.
How do you see them? Barely?
Barely.
Can't we see them?
See how his mouth works?
It was.
How does it check? Because it has that outside part.
There are 3 layers of mandibles going back in, and they do different.
Chopping and
Yeah, sawing.
moving around.
Yeah.
Adjusting.
Are you going to feel bad tonight, Katie, when you have your crab cake?
Not at all.
Bad?
Okay, let's go check out the
It's all
next
part
guy.
of the.
Do this. SeaWorld has an orca that jumps and does tricks, and they call it Shamu. Well,
Another name for one of the killer whales.
yeah.
Those are the black and white whales.
And
Yeah.
this is a mud minnow that we've named Shamud. So SeaWorld has Shamu, we have Shamud, who has gotten lazy on me lately, and I'm thinking about having to,
Oh!
come on, you can do better than that.
Wow.
Well, I'll be.
Just like the orca.
The pressure was on.
See if he'll do it again. Come on.
Oh!
Did he get it again?
Well, now this has me wondering. Maybe he just wasn't jumping because he didn't have an audience all these months.
Ah, he's a showman.
Come on up. Well, that's neat. I'm glad he's finally jumping again. Let's try one more. See if I can get it. Right here. Okay, Shamu, one more. Come on. You can't be full. Oh, come on. There we go. That's his safety net right there. Sometimes he misses.
Yeah, down that.
Tank, I'll go ahead and give him a little bit of a snack.
What type of, what is he also with?
Actually, this is a female. It's also a diamondback terrapin. There you go.
Oh, where's the mustache?
Well, this one doesn't have a mustache. They don't all have mustaches.
Is there a reason to keep her in a separate tank than the others, or?
Only that she's the traveling one.
Likes to travel all sorts of places. Jump to.
And that's really not a large enough tank for 3 of them. Our main display tank, I had a special tank built for them, but it's just too large for in here. Right now, it's at the shed. It'll be part of our display at the shed that's going to become a visitor center. Okay guys, come see if you can find the flounder. Look in that tank and see if you can tell me where the flounder is. You know what a flounder is?
No.
It's a flatfish that lives on the bottom. See if you can spot him.
Huh. Who doesn't like to hang out? Over in the sand or on the shell?
Well, he's in the sand den right now. Here on the shell it'd be easier to see.
Guess like he's done sticking out.
It's one sneaky fish. What the heck's that thing hiding, guys?
I see his eyes.
And this side and this side.
Look right here. See where I'm pointing?
Yeah.
Here's his tail.
Oh, look at that. We didn't see him.
There he is. Whoa, he's huge.
He was 2 inches long when I got him this spring.
Now he's huge. How many inches is he now?
It's about 6 inches, it looks like.
He looks huge.
And before long, I'm going to have to get him a bigger tank. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some food in here that he may not eat right now. But it's, remember how the smell of food in tanks makes animals get excited?
Yes. Will we get him excited?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to drop it in there and we'll just see if he'll come to it.
He's over there and the food's over there.
See if you can find the tulip snail before it starts moving and gives itself away.
Nope.
While we're waiting for it to wake up, I'm going to go get an oyster drill snail. See those empty shells?
Yeah.
Those are empty oyster drill shells. Remember how the sea star ate the mud snail?
Yeah.
Well, the tulip snail eats oyster drill snails. So I'm going to go get an oyster drill snail.
That huge fish.
This is an oyster drill snail, and it's called an oyster drill snail. You know why it's called an oyster drill snail?
No.
Can you guess?
Because it likes grills. And it eats oyster.
Yeah. And it drills into them. It drills a hole in an oyster and then eats it.
Too much. He's just looking at you.
So the other ones,
Got it too.
they were the ones that splashed.
I'm going to drop this down.
Right next to.
If you look in the back, you see that snail underneath the sand?
Oh.
That's the oyster drill. And rather than standing here and waiting, we'll move on and we'll look back and we'll see if this guy gets up for the oyster drill. Okay? See if you can find the toadfish.
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 I found it. Big over here. That's a crab.
That's a big spider crab, isn't it?
Yeah. Where's the toadfish?
But it's not the prettiest fish in the world.
Yeah.
In between those shells, that's how it got
Oh.
nasty.
Between those
That's a good
shells.
disguise.
Shells.
Yeah, it's called the oyster toad, and they're found in association with the oyster reefs.
Yeah, see, I can see his eyes.
Has a tail or
See his
It
eyes.
has a tail,
Some
but its tail is back up underneath the shells and stuff. Now, you see that clump of oysters right there? You see how that oyster shell is broken? You see how these clam shells are open? See how all those oyster shells are open? They were all eaten by that snail back there, called a knobbed whelk.
You mean the one in the shell?
Yep. The shell that looks like this, that's a snail called a whelk, a knobbed whelk. I know everybody calls them conch. There are no conch in South Carolina. Conch are in the Caribbean. If you order conch in a restaurant anywhere north of Florida, you will be eating the channeled whelk. Now, it's very interesting how that whelk ate those clams and
Yeah,
oysters.
they're yummy regardless.
And I'm going
Just a big shell back there.
to show you how they do it. Okay. This is a clam shell. And what the whelk does, when this whelk was alive, its body was as big as my fist, and its foot, what the snail travels on, was that big. And they'll wrap their foot around a clam and grab it like that. And they twist their body and bring the edge of the clam to the edge of their shell. They use their shell to pry open the clam. They then move the clam up underneath their head. This is where it gets weird. Out of the whelk's throat comes a proboscis. Looks like a big purple worm. It's got a mouth with teeth on the end. They pry open the clam, stick in their proboscis, and eat the clam out of the shell and leave the empty shell behind. That's what happened to those clams and the oysters. And there are new oysters, new clams in here. That's a new clam. There's a new one. Those are future meals. Now, the spider crab back there in the corner,
Yeah.
remember when we talked about molting? Check this out.
It's a boat. A real crab.
It's his old exoskeleton. That crab
Boats.
used to live inside of this shell.
Live inside there.
It molted.
It's bigger.
Yep,
With a new
much
shell.
bigger. A lot bigger, isn't it?
Was that a long time ago?
That was about 3.
How come all these animals live in one cage?
Well, because these guys get along. There we go.
What amazes me, Bob, is how the water carries the smell. You know, we know air carries smell, but
Has molecules.
as molecules.
When your neighbors are barbecuing, you're smelling molecules of barbecue drifting on the air. Anytime food is put into the tanks, molecules from the food are dispersed through the tank. In here, if you look under the shell right there, that's a stone crab. I'll put the smell of food in the tank. We'll see if it'll get him to come out.
Look at these guys. They want their attention over here, Bob.
Oh yeah, as long as there are humans in the room, the Diamondbacks will be trying to get your attention.
It works.
Yeah.
Well,
They had their turn.
we have another bolt coming on. I always know when one of the crabs is going to molt because they quit feeding 2 days in advance.
Don't eat.
Yep, they don't eat, and there's a release of hormones
There's it.
which softens the muscle
Oh,
tissue.
coming out. Look at that.
Okay, there he is. It means he's not molting the next day or two. The hormones soften the muscle tissue and enlarges and allows the large muscle masses, like in the claws, to be extruded through very small joint openings.
How come animals don't eat when they're gonna molt?
He's very strong. Doesn't he look very strong?
Muscle.
And they get much bigger, and a big stone crab is so strong it can crush the bones in a finger.
For real?
And the main
For real.
food, yep, their main food
Don't put
in
your
the
finger in
wild
Isn't that?
is oysters. Check this out. You see all these pieces of oyster in here? That was once a whole oyster. With their claws, they're strong enough to crush oyster shells and open them to eat the oyster inside.
They eat animals.
And that's the blue crab.
That's what we were catching.
Mm-hmm.
The crab trap.
We'll see if
And
he-
your neighbors.
see if he's hungry.
But I bet you won't want to eat your blue crab tonight, now that you've seen them.
You don't like crabs.
Wash your head there. They're not these.
You hungry?
Yeah.
That's what they were doing earlier. Now it's familiar, right?
Their little crab dance.
Now,
But they were a lot of these.
this, if you will observe the brown algae growing on him, this is what you call a rusty. Now, when you're having your crab this evening, have you already picked them?
Not yet.
As you're picking the crab, there's a chance you may crack into a nice big crab and say, hey, there's almost no meat in here.
Yeah, that happens, yeah.
It's a crab that is just recently molted. It has its new large exoskeleton, but hasn't grown to fill it yet. So the next time you're taking crab out of the crab trap, look underneath. If it's pearly white, that's a recently molted crab. Toss them back,
These are some
catch them again in a month or so. You want the ones that you can see they're stained. That's why they're called rusties. That's a full
So
crab.
throw back the whites.
Yep.
That's good to know.
If it looks like it just came off the showroom floor, it did.
It's like the soft shells, the soft shell
Way
lobster.
on the bottom.
Easier to eat, but it's much smaller because the shell, they haven't grown into their new shell and it hasn't hardened up yet.
So, what'd you guys think?
I liked it.
You gonna tell your friends back in where from? Back in Maine. Yeah, gonna tell all your friends back in Maine about this?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna put a video up on YouTube, and you'll be able to tell all your friends, and they'll be able to go and see your adventure here at the Low Country Estuarium. How about that? You guys will be movie stars.
For real.
Yeah, for real.
Doubting Alex.
Thanks for coming to visit us. And I hope you guys come back and visit us again, okay? Alrighty, bye-bye. It was a real pleasure to have George and family visit today. George and Kathy have been longtime leaders in regional conservation efforts and also longtime supporters of the estuarium. Thank you both. The kids are great.